And we are still keeping tabs on that big issue, story that broke today, happening now, developing story, Martin Kpebu's whereabouts. We've been gathering information, trying to work our sources. We have information for you, and if Kwadjoga is in the studio, you know you get exclusive. He's here with the latest information about the whereabouts of Martin Kpebu and what we know so far. Kweku, you have been working your sources, and you tell me that we have latest information as far as this issue is concerned. What more do we know in terms of what we know about the whereabouts of Martin Kpebu?
Kofi, our latest scoop we are getting is that Martin Kpebu, right behind me, may not spend the night in NIB facility because, as we know now, the place that Martin Kpebu was being kept was NIB because the special prosecutor had actually caused his transfer to that place, and now we know that there are certain people and certain forces that have intervened to ensure that Martin Kpebu is released this very evening so that he can go home. He went to the special prosecutor this afternoon, expecting that it was going to be one of those routine meetings that he had engaged in the last time the OSP invited him over the allegations he had made against Mr. Kisia Jabin, that bribery allegation that had caused the OSP to invite him to supposedly substantiate those allegations against the OSP. He went there the last time. It was a very brief meeting. And then the OSP again extended the invitation to him to appear today. And today when he did go there, he was very confident that he was going to leave pretty shortly. But that did not happen. He was detained. He was arrested on the pretext that he had allegedly obstructed an officer of the special prosecutor who was, investigating this matter or in questioning or interrogating Martin Kpebu, whatever the language you'd want to use for that. And so he was placed under a formal arrest, as we now know. And then the bail conditions was that he should produce a landed property in his name and then one surety. We understand his lawyers then left to try and get an understanding of, to see if they could be able to meet this bail condition. When they returned, Martin Kpebu was not there. And in fact, at the time, they were telling us that they did not know about the whereabouts of Martin Kpebu, that very famed and popular lawyer. He's also a media commentator and all of that. Up until now, we have now confirmed that the whereabouts of Martin Kpebu is an NIB detention facility. Which of them we do not know. We know that NIB had a couple of them right here in Accra, and so we cannot confirm to you which exact location of the NIB facilities is currently the subject of the detention of Martin Kpebu. But we know now that certain intervention is happening and that Martin Kpebu is not expected to spend the night in OSP custody in NIB detention facilities, and ultimately he will be released. So many people speaking, condemning the special prosecutor for what they call an overreach. That those who are telling us that the special prosecutor has no search powers to do what he has done to Martin Kpebu, and that this was a bribery allegation made against the special prosecutor. The special prosecutor's office did not have any power to proceed to purport to investigate its own self as it so were. And there are those who still said that Martin Kpebu did not have to be arrested in the way that he has been. There are a lot of commentary that we are getting about this very matter coming on. There are those who say that they can no longer, in good faith and in good conscience, support that. Mauli Dake is a very popular lawyer on social media talking about this. He says, unfortunately, I can no longer, in good conscience, stand with the office of the special prosecutor and the special prosecutor. It is unconscionable, it is shameful, and unacceptable. A lot of comments coming in. Oliver Back of Omawo has also spoken about it. Kwame Sapon, a CEDU, says this is a miscalculation. It's due process of bloody mindedness. This detention seems to have backfired. The longer Martin is kept, the more damage it does to the office. Never become the news unwittingly. And then Professor Stephen Kweku Asare is saying that if there is no corrupting allegation against Martin Kpebu, the alleged detention will be an abuse of the OSP's very limited power. So many people speaking about this. Martin Kpebu, as we know now, in detention, was arrested by the office of the special prosecutor on allegations that he had obstructed an office of the officer of the OSP who was doing his work by questioning Martin Kpebu. The specific details we do not know. We are expecting that either this very evening or very early tomorrow, Thursday, the special prosecutor will cause a public release to explain the specifics of all that is happening. So, Kofi, that is what we are learning as producers work the lines to try and get some reactions to what we have learned so far. The facts are that Martin Kpebu did go in there, he was questioned, and now accused of obstruction of the OSP officers who were doing this investigation. He was placed under a formal arrest and asked to produce a bail condition of a landed property in his name and one surety so that he could secure his release. And as the lawyers worked on that and were out of the OSP's office, his location was changed from the OSP to an NIB.
But they had also said he was whisked away, right?
Exactly. And so those are some of the information that we are getting because, and as you just said, Fatai Bayaga spent much of this evening there. There was nothing happening at the OSP because the lawyers actually knew or had been told that Martin Kpebu was not in custody at the OSP and he had been moved. They had to take some time before they could confirm that he has actually been moved to an NIB detention facility. What exactly that facility is, we do not know, but we expect, as we know now, that Martin Kpebu may get his freedom this very evening.
In fact, even before he entered the premise today, we had that exclusive interview with Martin Kpebu where our reporter Fatai Bayaga actually spoke to him. He looked very, very, optimistic going into that sort of engagement with the OSP, saying that he was expecting that engagement was going to be with him and the high levels at the OSP, and he was not going to have it if it was going to be an engagement between him and the subordinate of the OSP. I want us to go back and listen to that interview. That was an exclusive interview that our reporter Fatai Bayaga had with Mr. Martin Kpebu today when he was about to enter the OSP building.
That they would get it right this time. Remember, I've been here twice, and they couldn't constitute an independent committee. They kept making me appear before subordinates to the special prosecutor. They kept making me appear before subordinates. Subordinates can't investigate their boss. It's incompetence. You see, that's the very thing they did, and then Ofuriatta left Ghana. And that's what they've done on 2 occasions. So today, if I get in there and the board or whoever, the committee is not properly constituted, I'm not coming back.
But are you willing to cooperate?
Oh, absolutely. That's not in doubt. It's not. We haven't even reached that threshold at all. Look, let's get it clear. What Mr. Kisia Jabin has been doing so far, the 2 appearances, is that I should give my information to his subordinates. You, Fatao, can you investigate your boss? Can you investigate your boss? Can you investigate Mr. Kwesichum? Why is that going to happen? And you think you can keep your job? It's ridiculous. So now I understand how he just botched this whole Ofuriatta matter, that he can't even get basic things right. Basic things. You're saying that give information to your subordinate. How is the subordinate going to investigate the boss?
Well, Kweku, I understand that the OSP himself has been in the news. There are a number of petitions against him. And just this, last month, we got a report also from the IMF government, or Goddess Governance, Anti-Corruption Governance, and the OSP featured heavily. But I want us to focus on the petitions we've received this month and last month with respect to the removal of the OSP, because we understand that Martin Kpebu himself also decided to file one to the presidency demanding the removal of the office of the special prosecutor, the SP himself, where Martin said that he believed that his petition was going to be the one that could get the OSP, the SP out of that office, because he said he had evidence, he had substance, and he believed that his allegation against the SP had a lot of weight. What more do we know about the number of petitions currently before the president, or that has been sent to the presidency as far as the removal of the SP is concerned?
So as we can confirm this week from the presidency, there were 3 petitions, in fact 10 in total, 7 of them related to the Electoral Commission, 3 of them regarding Special Prosecutor Kisia Jabin. There are allegations of impropriety against him that is seeking to oust him from office. All of that has gone to the president. The president has a very tight rope on this matter, because the OSP, the act has very strict timelines that must be followed. The president immediately must submit that petition to the Chief Justice, who must determine whether there is a prima facie basis, a prima facie case to be made. And the Chief Justice himself must do that in 14 days. If he does so and he believes that there's a prima facie case against the special prosecutor, he put together a committee of 5 members, 3 of them superior court judges, and 2 of them ordinary members of society who are not lawyers, who are not members of parliament. That committee has 90 days maximum to bring a report on whether or not they are reporting the removal of the special prosecutor. So 3 petitions currently on the desk of Chief Justice Paul Bafubon. He has to decide on that, and all of these matters having to come. Martin Kpebu himself talking about the fact that he himself wanted to write a petition and send it to the president to cause the removal of Kisia Jabin as special prosecutor on a number of grounds, because he did not believe that Kisia Jabin was qualified for that office, and in particular, the way he was running affairs in that office. And that is why he was sending that petition. So Kofi, the special prosecutor himself, big in the news this week with a number of allegations against him of impropriety, among other things. And then this evening, another big news when his officers decided to arrest Martin Kpebu. He's still being detained. We understand he may be released this evening, but as we speak, just about 10:30 on the dot, Martin Kpebu is in the coolest, it's not in the comfort.
In fact, Martin left home very early today, still 10:30, he's not home. But I mean, just like we told you, Fatal Bayaga is on ground, and you see behind Kweku Asante, that is the picture or the visual we are getting from the office of the Special Prosecutor building. You can see that up to now, there are still lights on, and fresh information we are getting is that Martin Kpebu is now being moved from the NIB office to the office of the Special Prosecutor again. What will happen? We are still keeping tabs on that.
That is where normally, if the bail conditions have been met, that is where the bail will be executed. And so if it's being moved from NIB back to, and you see the lights there, this gives me some things about transfer deadline day where club offices, there are still lights in there and all of that. And so if the bail conditions have been met and have been satisfied and the OSP is convinced about that, they have to move him back to the specific agency that granted him that bill for the bail condition to be executed. And so once that is confirmed, then they bring him back there and execute the bail. Martin Kpebu can then leave and go get some rest. And obviously tomorrow, Martin Kpebu himself, if he regains his freedom, eventually he will be speaking and giving the facts and giving everything that happened behind closed doors, led to his arrest and everything we've done so far. Well, expect the OSP himself to do something similar. Well,
Victor, Kwadjoga Adawudu is joining us on this particular issue. He's a legal practitioner. He's joining us on this particular issue. What was your first reaction when you actually heard this news? Would you say that this was expected, looking at the way everything around this Martin Kpebu versus the OSP is concerned?
For me, when I heard it, it was unfortunate, and I felt that it was an abuse of power, abuse of position, and abuse of authority.
Do you think that the OSP has the legal right to detain Martin Kpebu for this amount of time, and then also be taking him from one place to the other as far as the domain of this issue is concerned?
I have already stated it's an abuse of power in the sense that what is the offense of Martin Kpebu? In the first place, you had invited Mr. Martin Kpebu to come and substantiate an allegation he's made against you. He went further to make a petition, to draft a petition to the president for your removal. So that even the mere fact that you had gone ahead to invite him is that you want to be a judge in your own cause. You cannot investigate an allegation against yourself. And you have invited this man. He gave you respect that if there is an invitation, I would come. And the man says that I'm not going to speak to you. I may want to speak to your superiors. So that is his constitutional right he has exercised. And while the man is leaving the office, you come and policeman says that he is obstructing officials. And you charge him under the OSP Act, and you come and say that I don't have a hand in it, it is the policeman. On whose authority that the policemen are found on your premises or within the precincts of your office? It is clear blot on his career. It is unfortunate. It is unfortunate.
So if now, please go ahead.
Well, he's been granted bail. There is conditions, factors that has to be taken into granting bail or refusing bail. You said you've charged a man. You put an onerous condition that he should be bailed. He's been bailed. You've asked for justification that he should bring a landed property document in his name. Once they bring the document, you vacate the place, abandon your duty, instruct your personnel to leave, and you say, we have closed, so we will not be able to execute the bail. It's clear abuse, and it shows that there is some malice, there is mistrust, and you just want to use your power or the discretion that has been given to you to punish somebody. As the bail, it is stated that bail should not be used as source of punishment. For me, I think that this is one of the cases that citizens must arise and resist any oppressive rule. Any person with power, authority must be resisted, and the right thing must be done.
Okay.
So, for me, if Kpebu is going back to the OSP for the bill to be executed, it tells you that there is always somebody always has a superior, and there's always a superior thing that the wrong must be right.
Okay.
So for me, yes, that is it. It must be condemned in uncertain terms.
I'm grateful, Victor Kwadjoga Adawudu. Thank you very much. I understand. Honorable Francis Xavier Sosu, Member of Parliament for Medina, is also on the line. You heard this news. What was your initial reaction, and what do you make of what has happened so far?
In fact, what has happened so far is seriously embarrassing and very disappointing. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make legal sense to me because, in the first place, I don't know how Martin is under investigation. If I have made an allegation against the OSP, how do I tend to be the one to be under investigation? And in the first place, how can the OSP even investigate himself? If there's an allegation against OSP, who is an anti-corruption agency, I'm expecting that institutions like IOCO or some other agency of state will take up that matter and want to investigate. So the invitation of Martin in the first place is not legally justifiable. There is no basis for even inviting him in the first place. Then secondly, to have even detained him is even worse. Because, what would be the basis? Honestly, this is completely unacceptable. It is illegal. And I think that, as I've heard many people condemn already, it must be condemned. This is so wrong, and it must not be accepted in a democratic society.
But was Martin Kpebu right demanding that he really wanted to be only, investigated or spoken to by the SP himself, or maybe a superior, body other than his subordinates?
If Martin is not the subject of your investigation, or even though there are people who are subject of your investigation that you send your investigator to go and interview. Martin is not your typical public officer that you want to investigate anyway. So you couldn't send your investigator to say, Martin has some information. Let's get in it. You could have done. So then, what's needed, firstly? And then the arrest the most arrest, because I don't even understand how you would invite somebody, get the person, attached, so then in the process, you turn around to arrest the person. This is clear case lawful arrest and a clear case of abuse of power.
Well, gentlemen, I'm grateful that you could join me. The whereabouts of Martin Kpebu. What we are learning currently is that he's being moved from the NIB office back to the office of the Special Prosecutor building, just opposite Parliament. And what was going to happen, we simply do not know. We are keeping tabs on this, breaking or developing story. Martin Kpebu, as we are gathering, is now being moved from the office of the NIB back to, the office of the Special Prosecutor. And fresh information that I'm getting is that Martin Kpebu, who has been under, the investigation of the office of the Special Prosecutor, went to NIB, back to office of the Special Prosecutor, has now been released after some interventions, just like Kweku Asante told you, that now Martin has been released. That is the fresh information we are getting. So the fresh information we are getting is that Martin Kpebu has now been released, and possibly he can now go home. and sleep. I mean, he went to the office of the special prosecutor, the premise around, in the morning. Our reporter, Fatal Bayaga, spoke to him that morning. He's been there. I mean, it got to a point we didn't know his whereabouts. We got to know he was at NIB, brought back to the office of the special prosecutor. But what we are learning currently that he has been released. We are still keeping tabs on this issue, and as if anything else happens, as fresh information comes, we'll bring this to you. I mean, stay with us here on Joy News. This is a happening story, and when we have fresh information, we'll be bringing that to you.
Remember.